Hey, this is Craig, the Pool Man with Pool Specialist. Today we have a demonstration for you on how to convert a Pentair Intellitouch, or it's also the same to do a Pentair EasyTouch conversion to a Jandy AquaLink, what they would consider an RS. And this is actually an RS6, so you have 6 auxiliaries to work with. Just kind of odd because their norm is 8 auxiliaries, but there's a way that the conversion kit comes with 6 auxiliaries. And for our purposes today, that's going to be more than sufficient. So we'll go ahead and convert this over and give you an idea of how that all works. We'll be splicing in a video from another conversion. This conversion today does not have a salt system integrated into the load center, whereas the one that we're going to cut in is a situation where the salt system is integrated into the load center. So it's slightly different. There's 1 or 2 additional steps that you're going to have to do in order to make that work. We are now in front of the panel that we're going to replace. This is an Intellitouch i9-3. As you can see, there's no label on 7 or 8. So we really only have 6 auxiliaries. And this is a pool spa combo board, so that's exactly what we're putting in. Now, the one nice thing about the control panel from Jandy is it all comes pool spa combo. However, if you need a different application, you can just go ahead and contact your local technical advisor and ask him to flash it so that it could be a pool only. It comes as a pool spa, or potentially even dual equipment. So that is one of the niceties of their system. It's a little bit more universal, where the Pentair system, you actually need to buy different boards in order to have different functionality. So we're going to go ahead and take our panel off that for our load center. Then we're going to go ahead and drop this panel. And as you can see, we have all our connections. We do have a expansion board here in the back, which is great. I like to utilize those all over the place. You never want to double up on these wires. You want each one going into an individual plug or connector. Now, one of the issues here is this is going to get in the way. So we're going to have to remove that. As you can see, we have all of our connections labeled as what they are. And that way, when we connect it to the next panel, we know exactly what we're connecting and where we want to connect it. Pretty much is going to follow about the same pattern because filter pump is filter pump. And then you have waterfall, which is number 1. Then water, then this one says cleaner, which, well, this is old school and everybody uses robotic cleaners now. So we're actually have eliminated this cleaner. And then jets is on 3. We're going to pull jets over to 2 so that we can make the spa spillover on 3. And then lights, we don't need the spillway because that's automatically assigned in the Jandy system. And then the edge pump. And all of the pumps in this application are actually all Intelliflows. And so the nice thing is Jandy works with all the Pentair equipment. It works with the lights. It works with the pumps. So we're able to program up the Jandy system to individually control the filter pump, the 3 waterfall pumps, and the spa jet pump, as well as we have color LED lights in this pool, which are all Pentair. And again, the Jandy system has an option so that it will talk to the Pentair lights and give you the correct light. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do some of this and then I will turn the camera or the video back on so that you can see it in between steps. I neglected to tell you that actually the very first thing I did was I cut the main circuit breaker to this panel off so that I don't have any voltage in here, because I'll be putting my hands in here. And also I don't want any voltage going to this panel. So the first thing I did was I actually removed this circuit group, and there's a plug here, which I'm going to pull off. And then you can remove the 2 screws on the side, the 2 screws in the back, and then this will actually pull out. Of course, we are going to have to remove our wiring that comes down here. And of course, this is wired for 240 volts. And so that is a problem if you're looking at the Jandy system, because Pentair's transformer allows you to wire it to either 120 or 240. And there's a simple change that you would do in the actual wiring of it. However, the Jandy transformer will only work on 120 volts. So be very, very careful, because when this product is shipped from Pentair, all of them are wired up for 240 volts. And you would have to actually convert it to 120 in order to make it work if you only had a single circuit breaker. So very, very important. And you can see the wiring come down here. So I'm going to remove this wiring, and then we're going to go ahead and mount in our Jandy transformer. As you can see, I went ahead and I removed the old circuit breakers and the old transformer. And the kit that Jandy has comes with a transformer mounted on a little bracket so that you can screw it in the identical place. Make sure that you also, this is the wire that's going to go to the board, and make sure that you attach the ground. So I replaced the 4 screws, and then I converted this to 120 volts. And of course, black goes to black because black is hot, and white goes to white. White is neutral. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to remove all of the connectors off of this board. You can tell that this is the air sensor, this is water sensor. So we're going to want to keep track of that so that we can put that into the new board. And then we have our connectors, and we are going to actually have to change the wiring on these because the wiring is a little bit different. We could keep it the same. Coming back to this board, we would just have to remember going back to that board, which probably is not a very good idea. I have everything labeled. So this is for our heater, which we're going to connect up to the Jandy board where the heater goes. And then we have our intake actuator, our return actuator, and then all of our connections such as our filter pump, our waterfall, the lights, the jet pump, the lights, and the edge pump. So now everything has been removed from this board, and we can remove the board from here and then start installing the Jandy board. To remove this, all we have to do is remove these 2 screws. Okay, well, I've done a lot of work here, and a couple things I want to point out at first is this is a sticker that comes with the system, and it lays out everything associated with the Jandy control system. So, of course, how the RS485 connectors are wired up, if you have a spot side switch, and then, of course, your air temp, your water temp, if you had a solar temp, and then your low voltage heater. Now, of course, this will work with any Jandy heater if you connect it to the fireman switch, any Pentair or even Hayward heater connected to the fireman switch. However, if you do have a JXI heater, I would highly recommend that you connect it through the RS485. And the reason why you want to do that is because it'll actually give you the error codes if there's something wrong with the heater. So you can look it up on your AquaLink app, or if you have a pool company, they can actually see it as well. Now, one of the things that we're going to make sure we do on this is we want the spa spillover. So therefore, we're going to take the switch number 3 and we're actually going to turn it on. Everything else we're going to leave off because there's really no such thing as 2-speed pumps anymore. And there's pretty much no such thing as cleaners anymore. So it's kind of legacy stuff. And so that's what we're going to do. And this gives you all your diagrams, wiring, etc. I'm also a label freak. So if you look over here at you're going to see that Jandy gives you these nice little labels to put on here, right? So I have a filter pump, edge pump, waterfall, spillway, jet pump, pool light. And the way that this works is when you take the board off, you have this little bracket that you can mount on in the same place. You use the outside holes because the panel that's going to cover the circuit breakers uses the inside holes. And then you have a simple slide here, and then that connects you all up. So let's go over some of these connections that we've got. Of course, we had labeled all of our auxiliaries and we lined them up, labeled them here. We had labeled our intake actuator and our return actuator, and we put them there. If you have more actuators, you have a cleaner and a solar actuator that you can actually program for whatever. This is all part of the programming. And then as we go to the back of it, here's my power that's connected. And here, back here is my distribution board. Now I have rewired it to the Jandy code. So basically, if you look, pin number 1 is red, pin number 2 is black, pin number 3 is yellow, pin number 4 is green, which is different than the way that Pentair does it. And so I wired this board and wired to here with the new color code. So that means that all of my pumps that I have here, I had to flip the wires because technically the yellow goes to the black and the green goes to the yellow. So you're going to have to flip all of these. Now, if you have a salt system, there is no way to make the salt system work. Many, many years ago, before people started buying up these salt system companies, there was something called legacy mode. And you could buy the Gold Line system and it would work with the Pentair system and it would work with the Jandy system. And I guess they have set it up now so that it's proprietary. So unfortunately, you are going to have to use your Pentair chlorinator or IntelliChlor manually, where you're just going to set it manually and you're not going to get those readings back on the Jandy. We actually also put in just a new cable for the antenna, because where the antenna is, if I remove it, it's gonna show, and customer wouldn't be very happy. So I consulted him and he just asked if I could leave it where it was and then mount a new antenna. So this is pretty much done at this point. And what we're going to do, and I'll show you this when it's completed, is we push this back in, and then all we need is put a screw over here, and then there's a really nice plate that works with this, and this plate will then cover this board, and it looks very professional. I will agree that the color is different, but Jandy colors are different than Pentair colors. But this system works extremely well. This is about the 3rd one that we've done so far. Everybody's been really, really happy with them. So I highly, highly recommend it. But let me go ahead and finish this up. We did actually program it up and get the antenna working and do some of the basics just to make sure that everything was functional. I wanted to complete it before the customer had to leave so we could get it loaded on his phone. So it's all loaded on his phone. Everything is functional. So at this point, I'm going to clean things up and I'll be back and show you the finished product. Earlier in this video, I made an error and I said to use the outside holes. I was incorrect. It's actually the inside holes. And then this way, when you put this panel up, it will actually line up and you can actually put the screws into this. Now it does stick out a little bit, mainly because of the screws that you use on the other side. If you really wanted to go to some crazy extent, you could probably get recessed screws or something. I just don't see it as an issue at all. So this comes out looking very professional. Another comment that I forgot to make is that the temperature sensors for a Pentair system are the exact same type as for a Jandy system, and they are interchangeable. They are what's called a 10K temperature sensor. Now, I believe if you were going to try and do this conversion on a Hayward system, which would be very advantageous, I believe you would have to switch out the temperature sensors. I believe they use 100K sensors, but I'm not 100% sure. So this is the way the finished product looks. So at this point, all that is left is to actually program this system up, which is covered in other videos that we have on our website. Hey, Craig the Pool Man here. Today we are doing a conversion from an EasyTouch to a Jandy or Fluidra system, which would be what they refer to as an RS8. These are both pool and spa, and you can see we've got our circuit breakers, everything shut off. And you may ask, well, why do you want to do this? Well, one of the issues with Pentair is it only controls Pentair equipment. And if you go to the Fluidra or Jandy one, this particular part number for conversion, then you can control Pentair, Jandy, and even Hayward lights. You can control Jandy pumps, Pentair pumps. It has a lot more options. And quite honestly, from our customer base, its interface tends to be a little bit more user-friendly. So, of course, Pentair is doing away with this EasyTouch, and they're going to the Intellitouch, which I'm not so sold on as far as the bug situation goes, or shall we say anomalies. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. I'll kind of show you step by step what we're doing. Okay, I like to take the door off, and quite honestly, on either a Jandy panel or a Pentair panel, there's a little screw there. And once you remove that, you can slide the door off the hinges. So we've dropped the panel on it, and you can tell that somebody is not very intelligent. The whole point of this, right, and comm boards is that you don't double up on the wirings, because that causes problems. And if one of the RS485 ports fails, you can't isolate it out very easily. So we're going to fix that. We're going to go ahead and use those, and we're also going to install an expansion board in the back. But at this point, we're going to come through and we're going to label all of these so that we can just literally switch them straight over to the Jandy system. So these are all your auxiliaries, and then also your actuators on the right. Those are your actuators, these are your auxiliaries. Okay, so one of the issues you're going to run into is, of course, this is how Pentair does all of they do circuit breakers versus Jandy does a fuse on the back of the board. And if you look at this, that is supposed to mount in there. But as you can see, one of the problems is it will actually overlay where the salt system is. So you should have some cutouts for these. I would leave them, but the Jandy system doesn't allow you to do that. And of course, you want to make sure that you have accommodations for that. So I'm actually going to mount this board up in the back over here. Show you once that's finished. All right, so you'll see that I took the transformer off of its bracket, and then there was an existing screw there, and then I drilled a hole and tapped it and put a second screw there. And one of the things is the Pentair transformer can be wired up for 120 volts or 240. This transformer from Jandy can only be wired up for 120 volts. So make sure you're very careful about that, because you will blow out the board if you have it wired to 220 volts. If you remember, I mounted the transformer here. There are the wires for the power that run through a chase behind those relays. You can see it coming out there. And then conveniently, you have enough wire to get into the top breaker, which is for our control, and then the white wire that comes over to our neutral. And of course, the ground I had attached to a screw up here. So we now have this wired up, and we're going to start installing the board. I had to remove this plate right here, which are the circuit breakers for the Pentair. You'll notice that this one is the 12 amp that goes to the salt system. So you're going to need to snap that out of place. And the way that you can do that is you'll look and you'll see that there's little clips here. You snap it out of place and then just set it back there. It's nice and safe. I removed the actual Pentair transformer just to get it out of the way so I don't have anything excess. I never know how competent or intelligent the people are going to be that come in after me, and so consequently I don't want to leave things that are confusing. Thank you so much for watching our instructional video. I hope you found it helpful and educational. If you did, please drop us a like and follow us. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.